Today is July 28th, and you can see by the grounds here, I got everything cleaned up, all the raw materials, all the pieces of lumber and whatnot. I had to get the raft under cover. We've got a rainstorm approaching, and I didn't want any water to collect inside of the hulls, because now that it's right side up, it's like an open funnel. It's going to hold the water. So I moved the trailer inside of here, and I started getting it ready for the rain. So it's safe and sound in here, but I want to do a second tarp in case the roof leaks. So I set up these wooden stanchions. These go up to a big old, basically a shower curtain pole on steroids. This is a stainless steel pole I found at the dump. So on the other end I have the same setup. I have a stanchion that plugs in kind of similar to the way that the trailer lights do. So it's got a little spot down there where it plugs in. I got a cross brace, and then up top I have that pole supported. It goes all the way across. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tent the raft. So this will be a secondary covering. So we have the Quonset hut cover, which also has a cover over it because we had a hole. But I'm also going to tent the raft in case we get some kind of leak or we get some wind-blown rain. So this will be tented. Everything that was on the deck is gone, and the holes are empty. So there's nothing stored on board now. Everything is put away. Everything's under cover. And what I did where the engine mounted here is I clicked it up a little bit so it's not resting right on the trailer. The gas tank's okay in here for now. Now over here where the engine came from, I re-tented the end of the little Willie raft, because this is where the engine used to be. So what I did was I took this, this is an outhouse frame that we have on board for the little Willie. So we have a raised box and a commode. So everything that I took out of the raft, basically that's ropes and anchors and such, and the fenders, everything's under cover. But because the tarp ends at the very end of the boat, I put this second tarp to cover the end of the raft, give it a little overhang so no rain can get driven on the deck and, you know, into the buckets of rope and stuff. I got everything out in there drying. So I had coiled up my extension cord that went from the power from the house to here. That's been coiled up and put away. So I'm back to using my Blue Eddy power station. So we're connected up to this power strip. I can just turn on the lights now. So now we're lit back up, so I can see what I'm doing in here. So what I did on the toolbox is I just covered them up with this tarp, because I figure if we get a blowing wind, it's going to come through this open area right here potentially and could get onto the tools and rust them up, even onto the power strip. So I need to drop that curtain down on the outside. We're going to get some pretty serious rain in the next couple of days, so I want to make sure I'm buttoned up. So here's the look inside with some lighting. You can see everything's been cleaned out of the hulls, you know, life jackets, fenders, ropes, anchors, all that kind of stuff. Also the poles that were connected up in here to make the canopy cover, those are actually too tall to push the raft in here without knocking the lights off the ceiling. So what I did, I came up with a pretty good plan, because they already took a bend from being out in the sun, was I just laid them up here on the end of the Quonset shack. So you can see that I got bungee balls holding them together as a group. So they go up and over the top of the Quonset hut and back down again. This way they're right here where I need them. If next time I take the boat out, I can take them off of here and you know, put them on the boat and make that hoop again and cover it up so we have shade. So that's the plan there. And even if after the sun hits it a bunch of times, the PVC will warm up and relax. It'll take the bend a little bit more down to the edges of the Quonset hut. See how it's kind of sticking up right now because it's got a little bounce to it. So we want to encourage it to relax and take that curve. So we're all set in here. The only thing that I want to probably get rid of, these are super soakers here, and a hand pump and a hockey horn. They're meant to be used in the water, so if they get wet, that's no big deal. But I try not to leave things out. that if somebody climbs around up here and plays around, they might, you know, break something. There's the gas tank. So at some point I'm gonna move that gas tank before I tarp this. So once again, I put a stanchion up here in this metal bracket, so it goes straight up, and it's triangulated with that 2x4. So that supports this pipe up here. That's just resting. I cut a little V in these blocks of wood, so this pipe just rests in there, and it goes the same setup on the other side. So now I can tent the raft inside of the Quonset hut. That way, if we get a tree branch or something comes falling down and pokes a hole in it, we'll still have a secondary protective layer to keep water out of the holes. Because now that we're upright, any water that gets in here is just going to sit, and that's not good in any boat to have sitting water inside of the holes. So I just want to put one more layer of protection up there, get that taken care of, and then that's pretty much a done deal, storing the raft. I'm going to drop this door down, and I'm also going to drop the outside fan opening. Going to drop that down as well, so when we get the rain, everything's protected and it won't get damp. So the rain has begun, so I'm going to start off by getting the end of the tarp closed off, just because I don't want to get any of the rain that's going to blow in here. So I take off these clamps. So there we go, that's shut down. Let me just jump down here without killing myself. So there we go. So that's shut down. This is just a flap that I can roll up to let the fans blow. So the majority of the rain should stay out of that end. So here's the Quonset shack, and there's the secondary tarp we put on it because there was a hole up top. So it's only going to drain down about this far. So we could potentially have holes around here. But see, this very end right here isn't covered. So we want to do the best we can. The tarp is about to this hole here. So I think we'll be okay, but you can see some light where we got holes. So I want to get this tarped. Okay, that should do it. So I got a secondary tent over everything. So if the tarp does leak from the Quonset hut, everything is over the edge of the hulls, so we shouldn't get anything that leaks out over this way. And I can turn off this power strip. See, everything's all cool on this end. I closed up the vent where the fan is. This is closed up on this end here. So we have full coverage on the boat. So no worries if the rain comes through the roof. We have a secondary containment system here, and we're good to go. So I'm going to power down and call it a day. These battery systems are really nice. So I think I'm going to leave the door open for now, let it breathe. I don't have any reason to worry about rain because the boat's fully covered now with that secondary tarp. So just let it sit for now. In case I need to get in and out of there, I'd rather leave the door open than leave it closed. So I was able to get the raft properly stowed and covered for this rain that's going to be hitting us this week. We're going to get 2 or 3 days of heavy rain and wind, and it's best to try to keep things dry. So everything's put away. It's going to have a little slumber in this hot weather. And I pulled out this list that I had. This is my prep list that I used for the raft race, and there's some items I never got to. So I was going to review them and see what I could do now to kind of catch up. Now there's things like grease up the bearing buddies. That thing's been sitting for 10 years. I probably put it away greased, but it's been 10 years, so I can go up there and grease the bearings, so that way next time we take it out, that's taken care of. Add some rope lanyards to the wheel chocks. That wasn't imperative because I could still just put the chocks under the wheels when we were at the ramp, so the car wouldn't coast back into the water. Ropes are nice because it can just kind of grab them and drag them out from under the car rather than having to reach down and pick them up. So I could do that. There wasn't anything that was imperative that I had to do for the raft race, but I can now. I have some free time. I can catch up on those items. One of the things was wanted to assemble a wooden seat above the hulls on the cross members. Now, because we had the canopy frame, the tubes for that kind of in the center of it, we could have still made the seats, but you would have had to straddle that frame piece. Plus, the canopy would have been in the way, so that wouldn't have been a thing that we could have done and been comfortable with. But now that the canopy is off, if I wanted to take my grandkids fishing, we wouldn't really want the canopy because it would be in the way of the fishing poles. So I could add some kind of a wooden seat between the supports across the gunnels of the hulls. So I might do that. So that's something else that I could think about. Because we could just put a throwable PFD on that seat when it would be somewhat cushioned and comfortable. So that was really it on this side. On the other side, first aid kit. Although I didn't bring one on board, I had one in the car, but it never made onto the boat. So what I think I want to do is make a dedicated first aid kit storage area on the raft, so I could just slide it in a slot and be visible, and you wouldn't have to search for it. It would just be out in the open. We did the same thing on Little Willie. We made a little holder with a plexiglass front to it. You could just drop it in a slot. You could see that it was a first aid kit. Anybody who looked at the raft would see it, and they could take it if they needed it, because they wouldn't have to look for it. We also did that with our fire extinguisher. We made a mount on one of the rails of the Little Willie, so we could just mount it on the rails, so you could just look and see it. You wouldn't have to go inside of storage and dig it out. So I want to add a first aid kit holder and a fire extinguisher holder. That way it's just there, it's obvious. Anyone who needs it can just grab it and use it. We didn't need navigation lights because we weren't out at night, but I do have nav lights. I need to change the batteries on them, so that's down in the cellar on my workbench. I'll change those lights out, and we could also make a dedicated storage area on the boat for those, because we're probably going to go night fishing for catfish, and we're going to need nav lights on the vessel. Let's see what else. That's it. So most of the items we went through, although things that were super important and were mandatory, we did get done. So I'm going to just catch up on those few items going forward, so it's more convenient to have a place to put them. And actually I could just leave them on board. A fire extinguisher should stay on board. I generally take them in the winter, but a first aid kit, a fire extinguisher, nav lights, all that stuff should be on board all the time. So I'll work on that. And as far as like a seating arrangement, a lot of times when you're fishing, you don't really want to sit in a chair. You want to be able to stand up. So if we have a seat inside of the hulls, above them actually on the gunnels, then if you get a fish, you can stand up and do your reeling and stuff. So that'd be very convenient for that. So that's really all that needs to be done to finish it off. We also wanted to paint the hulls. Got to pick a color and then just get that done. So that'd be kind of cool to add some color to the boat. Right now it's just raw wood, and that doesn't provide much UV protection from the sun on the fiberglass. But we've kept it undercover for so many years that haven't really been an issue, but if we were going to leave it at a dock for any length of time, that would be an issue. So it's just good practice to paint any surfaces that have fiberglass on them. So that's a long-term project we could think about, because you got to pick a color, prepare the surfaces, paint them, and let them dry and all that. So that would be just like a fun thing to do. It basically is functional because it would protect the fiberglass, but it'll make the boat look really cool if we could paint it. And just some ideas that we had out on the water, and when we took it out at the ramp, because the trailer's up pretty high, we really couldn't get much of the trailer in the water, even though we had an extendo hitch. We didn't want to get the electric car too far in the water where we might have an issue, so we wanted to stay clear of that. I might need an extra extender. I think I had 2 3-footers. They do make them longer, and that's just for going down a ramp. That's not for trailering. So you trailer with the shorty, get to the ramp, change it to the longer one, so you have more backup space, and then once you're back out of the water, you change it back to the shorty. So I might want to get a more extendo trailer hitch. Also, John had mentioned, just why don't we get a winch so we can just crank it up, because we could get it over the tip of the boat, but we had to kind of shuffle it back and forth to get it all the way on the trailer. But a winch with a ratchet, you can just kind of crank. That'd be way easier. Easier on your back. And plus, if I didn't have anybody with me to help move the boat on the trailer, that would definitely be a necessary item. So there's that. We also had a left turn signal that was kind of screwy. It worked at one point and it didn't work, and then it worked again. So it's probably just we got a loose wire somewhere or a cracked connection. So I might want to revisit that. We were thinking it might be better just to mount the lights right on the raft, so we don't have to take them off and install them anywhere. We could just leave them on there. So that's an idea. So those are just some ideas that we threw around at each other that would make the next time we have an expedition, that it'd be just easier things that we had lined up to make it much easier to launch. Because we have to take the stanchions and the light bar off and lay it in the grass, launch, come back and put them back on. We could easily forget them, or somebody could run them over with their car or step on them. So if we could make that more manageable, that would be kind of cool. So those are just some ideas. So even though the raft's put away for the year for the raft race, I'm hoping to take it out and to go fishing with the grandkids. That'd be really neat. I think they'd enjoy that. We do have the United Way car show at my workplace, so I'd like to bring it up there and put it on display. Everybody has different hobbies, and they're able to put it on public view at the car show. People bring antique one-lunger engines. Some guy has an army truck. There's other people with boats, motorcycles, things, dragsters, things like that. So I would like to bring it there and just show my coworkers some of the things that I find interesting, and I'm able to build myself, and just show them what I've got. So with that, I'm gonna take my leave. I'm almost to work, so I'm gonna have to put on my safety glasses and my side shields and get ready to go. So thanks again for following this series on the Knotty Gurl. This is the conclusionary episode, 20-part series. I'm glad you guys could come along for the ride and see what it's like to get a raft ready for the raft race, and to be in the raft race, and the prep work that goes into it, and the after work when you're done putting everything away. So thanks again for following me on this epic journey. I'm glad you could be here with me. Bye-bye.